Hello again, everyone. John Harper with you here on SpaceCoastDaily.com, radio and TV. And we're delighted to be with you this afternoon. Special guest with us, a good friend of ours, a familiar name, a familiar voice across the sports world, especially, and that is Chris Myers. And Chris, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Always good to talk to you, John. Hope you're doing well.
And we know that you recently have published a book that's called "That Deserves a Wow," and want to talk about that a little bit. First, how did you come up with the concept, the idea of doing this book? What made you do it?
Well, when we were back during the pandemic, when everybody was sitting around and even the sports world was still, I started just kind of compiling notes over different things I'd covered from a decade at ESPN to 20 plus years at Fox, and then my roots in local radio and in Florida, and then local television, and some of the cool people that I've interviewed along the way, and the unique sports events that I've been involved in, along with Super Bowls and covering World Series for a network. And so, and then tying in my own life of my own journey of, everybody has a dream, and mine was to be a sports broadcaster. So how you put that all together, and the publisher was interested in telling the story, and I had some notes put together. So last year, it's just been more than a year. They said, "Hey, let's go ahead and put it out there." And I wanted it to be more than a sports book, John. I mean, there's a lot of great sports stories and some great sports names, but I tied in Bill Murray, who's people know, the great comedian who became a friend of mine through unique circumstances and through sports. So I wanted people to be entertained, but also moved by it. There's some rough spots that, just like in our lives, you get through things, and that's how athletes and coaches always talk about overcoming adversity and doing the best you can. So that's kind of in a nutshell why I thought about writing it while I'm still working, at Fox Sports and doing the NFL and baseball and NASCAR, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, you certainly, throughout the year, have a extremely busy sports schedule. As you said, everything from NASCAR to NFL to baseball. You doing the Kennel Club this year?
Yes, it's the 150th anniversary. It's the second longest running competition in the U.S. other than the Kentucky Derby, the Westminster Kennel Club. Best in Show. Funny like the movie, but this is real. And that's in February, Monday, Tuesday. I think it's the week right before the Super Bowl falls in that window, I believe, or right after, exactly. But yes, that's always entertaining. And I'm not, I don't. My family, we never had the opportunity to show dogs and purebreds, but we always had dogs growing up. My wife and son do animal rescue work with dogs, so it's an important event. But I have fun with it, and for some people, it's very serious competition, obviously.
Oh, I know they take it very seriously, but at the same time, I can always tell when you're inserting a little fun, and
Well,
not
I'll
sure
give
if
you I'll
everybody.
give you a couple examples. They put up with me, but like one example, they came out and they said the Dalmatian, the spots started at early. Hey, they went, this is that, and I said, boy, they're the Dalmatian. I said, there's got to be 100 more around here somewhere. And of course, they're like, no, this is the only one that's in competition. And then they had a dog that they said, this dog's name is Cuervo, and I said, oh, so he's got a shot, to win the championship. And they were like, no, this is actually one of those that just got in under the wire. So there's those moments, but there are the
Yeah,
very to me, it's the broadcast. The cameras capture the dogs, and they're the show. Obviously, all the work is done by the trainers and handlers, and so it's a really special. It's a great American event
it
that
is.
that takes
It
place at
is.
Madison Square Garden. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a great American event and people love it. And whether they have dogs or they're just interested in animals in general, it's a lot of fun to watch, very interesting. And I know the trainers and the judges, this is serious business.
Yeah, it's their Super Bowl. That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We're talking to Chris Myers. Chris, of course, from Fox Television Sports. And Chris has a book out that's called That Deserves a Wow. Do you have your book there, Chris?
I do have a copy
There you
of.
go.
I walk around the neighborhood with it. People say, "Go away, Chris." It's you can
and
go.
at the same time, Chris really has been involved over the years. I guess now we're talking decades in the sports industry. And Chris, what kind of comes to your mind as one of your favorite events that you've covered throughout the years?
Well, I mean, is Super Bowl being on the network, the Fox broadcast of a Super Bowl, and at the time Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and whether it's the Tom Brady comeback, the greatest comeback ever in overtime to beat Atlanta, and being the first person there to interview Brady and talk to him, especially after Deflategate and some other things. That's a moment. There are other tender moments covering for ESPN. There was their first reporting Emmy award where an all-star pitcher and his wife are having to adopt a child in the jungles of Guatemala. This sounds like a movie, but he has to he has to pitch in the All-Star game and then leave early, take a red eye to get down there, meet his wife, and go through to fight and to follow him on that journey and report on the emotion of them having their first adoption of their child. There's a lot of those kinds of memory, and then the famous interview. It was awkward circumstances, but the first live interview with O.J. Simpson after the murder trial and the lawsuit, the double murder where he was acquitted, and how he handled how it was on ESPN's Up Close, and at the time the nation watching to see what he might say, and then later finding out more about him, and then some funny stories with Bill Murray hanging out, whether it's at sporting events or just talking sports and being around people, and related a little bit to Caddyshack and or golf. And my, starting in radio, John, were you as a kid in radio? My first job was at, WKAT in Miami Beach, Cat with a K, and being 15 behind the scenes and then 16 getting on the air. So, but I think it's relatable for anybody to have a passion for something that they want to do and go through life and be able to end up doing it. So you're grateful for that.
And you mentioned this before on the air when we've done interviews, but your first assignment at WKAT when Sonny Hirsch came to you and said, "Kid, I want you to do this interview," right?
Yeah, and it was
With that was with Cassius Clay.
yeah, Muhammad Ali, and I had to leave my humanities class early, sneak out. Well, I had to pretend I had something else. They didn't know exactly and drive an old beat up Ford to the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach, and get the tape recorder and get it in there with all the these old school writers, the smoky room and the cigars, just like what you would see in a classic boxing film, and interview Ali, who said, you're not as dumb as you look, kid. After I asked a question, he's the '70s, I had long hair, and so that was and Sonny Hirsch, by the way, was he was South Florida Miami Hurricane fans. So remember, he became the voice of the Hurricanes and passed away. Was a sports director at the time at that radio station. So yeah, for having Muhammad Ali as your first interview, Don Shula was one of the early interviews too, the winningest coach in the entire NFL and in its history, and then going on from there, and really, John, people that through the years, whether it was Johnny Unitas, John Elway, Bart Starr, Tom Brady, Mike Trout, Bonds, pitchers, hitters, boxers, Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, the people that I was able to really have an opportunity to interview and talk to that are some of the legends in their field. You take away a little bit from all of them. The great John Wooden, coach at UCLA, who was probably one of the greatest coaches. Bill Belichick, whether you like their personalities or not, very special people.
Chris Myers is with us. His book is called That Deserves a Wow. And Chris, over the years, I believe Fox sent you on an interesting assignment a few years ago. This goes back a number of years. Didn't you go to Afghanistan?
Yes, it was a great honor to around Thanksgiving. They had a football game, and we were doing NASCAR coverage, Daytona 500, and now IndyCar coverage with Fox. The military has such a great presence and is involved, and we're grateful for that at these events, along with doing what they do for our country. And so, yeah, we went over there with a couple of the Fox personalities and spent a couple of days. And on Thanksgiving, had dinner with the troops and watched the game with them, and then talked about it. And it was a special thing for me. I mean, my father, which I talk about in the book, who served in the Navy during World War II and was at the Normandy invasion, was always influential on supporting the military and doing what you could for them, even if you weren't in the military. So it was an opportunity when they asked, "Are you interested in doing this?" I of course jumped on it and was glad to do it, and have met
Yeah.
a number of high-profile military leaders at various sporting events who have been there either with the military for the national anthem or the flyover, etc. And I've always appreciated and made sure they knew how grateful I am. We all are for what they do and the sacrifices they make.
Chris, in our remaining moments, let's for the time here talk about sports today in the sports world. All kinds of crazy things happening. The firing of the University of Michigan head coach that has, I'm sure, sent shockwaves through the college sporting world. What's your take on the industry today in sports and where things stand compared to maybe just 10 years ago?
Well, I think it's reflective a lot about, excuse me, my throat here, voice from traveling, but it's reflective of our society in good and in bad. And the Michigan, and we don't have time to get into specific cases with things, but I think people, some people don't handle power very well. They don't handle fame or success very well. Others do, whether you're a coach or a player in any field. But ultimately, I have found that people through decades of covering sports that that if you're raised right, and you try to do the right things, that ultimately in the end people are basically good, and they will rally around you in some difficult situations. In terms of sports today, I mean, the good thing is it's everywhere. I mean, there are 24-hour. I know that for the now generation, it's common to have an NFL network and an MLB network. But back in the early years, it was only ESPN, and then social media and streaming brings sports even more of that to all of us. So that's a real benefit, and the sports fan really wins. Sports fan really wins in that regard, as having so many options and so many choices. I think you have to be careful of is a lot of misinformation which is out there, people that are not honest or spoofing, and it's taken the wrong way or misquoted. And that's one thing I know athletes can deal directly with the audience through social media, through whatever form they have, as opposed to just taking a writer or a press conference interpretation and sending that out to the audience. So I think it's better. I think there's more sports. I think more people are involved in sports, and I think there's more opportunity overall.
Good take on that. Good answer. I've got Artica, the Wonder Dog here. She thinks that maybe she can make
Oh,
the kennel show in
Michelle.
February.
All right. Well, we'll try to article. We'll try to get you a camera. Oh, there we go. Okay. Look, she not camera shy. That's the
Yeah,
first thing. So we'll see if we can get her involved. That's great.
exactly. You've got Tampa Bay Bucks football coming up this Sunday, right?
Yeah, on Fox calling the game. It's a very big game. I mean, both teams are stumbling into this. The Panthers in Carolina will host the Tampa Bay Bucks. We're going for another NFC South Division title. I've called Bucks games through the years, and I'll be there to call. The Bucks need to win two out of their last three. Panthers need to beat the Bucks twice in their last three, and I think many people thought Tampa Bay would have this wrapped up by now, and other people thought Carolina wouldn't be in the picture. So it's a very dramatic matchup, a very important matchup, and I always enjoy calling. Coming from the state of Florida, whenever I get a chance to call a Bucks game, a Dolphins game, a Jags game, it does mean a lot to me since it's my hometown. But having spent a lot of time in Charlotte covering NASCAR, I know a lot of the drivers and crews and people involved in the industry there are Carolina Panther fans. So we're looking forward to a great matchup there, and I'll be excited to call it.
Chris, in our final minute, you've got NASCAR again coming up after the Super Bowl in the new year. What's your take on what NASCAR fans can expect this year, this coming
Well, they
year?
went through a tumultuous offseason with the Michael Jordan team and another taking on NASCAR in a lawsuit. Some things were thrown out in the public. Eventually, they settled about it. It really has to do with control of charters, teams, race teams. I think overall, where they ended up, it will be better for NASCAR to make it more competitive and also give more opportunity other teams, make it financially a little bit more available for those who want to be involved. The Daytona 500, it's the great thing about NASCAR is that you start the season, really, there's the clash, but you start with the Great American Race, your most important race, other than winning the championship, and the Daytona 500 is the top prize in the sport. So, and it's always a wide open event. A little early to talk about which drivers, it's more which teams you're watching and how they're gearing up, whether it's Penske or Gibbs or of course Rick Hendrick, who's coming off a championship once again. So, and then Fox has it's a unique opportunity where a network has never had, John, before, the Daytona 500 and the Indianapolis 500 on the same network, the same broadcast, and having a chance to host each one of those shows.
That's right.
With our crews. It was a great experience last year, and that'll be again the case this year, and I hope viewers benefit from that, from our coverage.
Yeah, as you hosted the Indy 500 last year, that was very special, and with a star-studded co-host with you, you had Danica Patrick,
Yeah.
and
Tony Stewart, yeah,
and
that
Tony,
yeah,
yeah,
and on the
yeah.
pre-race show we brought in all the Tom Brady was there, and Michael Strahan and Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter, and they were all part of taking in, and again, a great military presence there. Boy, the pre-race ceremonies, John, they always just get me. I mean, at events, the Super Bowl and at the Indy 500 and Daytona 500, they really do encompass the good of our country and how far we've come and the things we're trying to do together as a country. And then of course it's a sporting event where
Right.
it's unscripted and unpredictable, which is why I think part of the reason we enjoy the adventure of it.
Chris, always exciting to have you on air with us. Your book is That Deserves a Wow.
And the
And
audiobook, John, by the way, the audiobook is available too. I know people don't have time sometimes to sit down and read, whether it's available on Amazon, a good Christmas gift, but a lot of people have enjoyed that where they're listening in their car or on the road. So I
yeah,
appreciate you mentioning the book. That was nice of you.
yeah, this great book, great read, and a lot of fun, very interesting. And Chris, we can't thank you enough for being with us here. Have a great Bucks game this Sunday. Great NASCAR season coming up, and of course, the remaining NFL games that you'll be doing as well. Do you have any baseball coming up
Yeah,
in
well,
the new year?
once the baseball season starts, and they have a new TV contract, but Fox will still be there. And so during the course of the regular season, once NASCAR wraps up, I'll be involved with the studio show, working with Dontrell Willis, former Marlin, and Eric Karros, the former Dodger and Cub. So yeah, I'll be busy year round. But thanks again, John, for having me on. You have a great holiday, and I appreciate your time as always.
Thank you so much. And also, we look forward to the Kennel Show coming up in February.
You got it.
All right. Chris Meyer is with us. His book, That Deserves a Wow. And we appreciate Chris for being with us here on SpaceCoastDaily.com, radio and TV. Thanks, Chris.